So it is weird, huh?
It is weird. Tax hikes, tax hikes, tax hikes. But under the guise of taxing the rich, this is probably the part of it that really gets me the most, that this $250,000 is all of a sudden rich. Even Nancy Pelosi, of all people, Nancy Pelosi is saying, you know, 250 grand, Mr. President, ain't really rich.
He wants to make it $1 million.
$1 million. Chuck Schumer wants to make it $1 million. I mean, these are people I rarely ever agree with, but it would make sense, at least that being a starting point, particularly when you talk about compromise. What I love is the compromise. It's 100% of the way I want it, 80% of the way you might want it. But
the president twisted it a different way that I thought was kind of politically shrewd. That, look, Republicans, and I agree on this much, we want to extend the tax rates for the middle class. So for 97, 98% of Americans, let's do that right now. And putting the Republicans in this box that if they don't, then they look awful.
You're right. No, in that sense, hey, that's compromise. We both agree on this, so let's do that part. Of course, that's 100% of what he agrees with and 80% of part of what they want. Listen, the idea is just really, the big battles over taxing small businesses or individuals who file taxes as small businesses. And the president used the 3% number. Of course, when it comes to these numbers and the arguments, if it's a lot of people, then they use people. If they can get away with fractions, they get away with fractions. But that 3%, Neil, is so critical. We know that most small businesses are just one or two people, and they're not going to get snared by this. But the job creators, the small businesses that create jobs, the $1 trillion that are generated by these small businesses, that 3% is half of them. 50% of that. That's a gigantic blow to the economy, to small businesses, and to job creation.
But, I think, Charles, he lumps the well-to-do, and part of it might seem like a cheap ploy to open up a show with Scarlett Johansson. I don't know why people would think that.
Well, it got me here.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's sort of like the whole Jessica Alba thing in Fantastic Four. Why is she the invisible one? Hello. But I digress. $20 million in overcrowd, they could take an increase, but that's a big swing from the 250,000 overcrowd. We lose sight of that, don't we?
We do, and that's why when you start to label things like Buffett, come on, a husband and wife who have a plumbing operation, who have a moving operation, own a couple of laundromats, people have done okay with it. Oh, they worked their way up through corporate America. These aren't Warren Buffett people. These are people with kids, mortgages, colleges. They have the same fears as someone making 50, a household making 50 grand. They really do, particularly if they live in a place like New York or Los Angeles. Why Nancy Pelosi kind of gets it this time, why Chuck Schumer kind of gets it this time. But more than anything else, it's disingenuous. It really is. It's dividing the country. It's hurting the country, Neil. It's forget about philosophy.
But you're arguing real quickly at those who are in lockstep, almost lemming approach to the president. You talked to a big basketball star today at Fox Business, and you were more or less telling him, all right, what is the level at which you think is too much, to paraphrase. Right. And I guess he cut it off at 65%.
He cut it off at 65%, and I think a lot of other and this is a multi-millionaire basketball player.
Right.
Certainly someone 200, 300,000.
There's a wide gap between he and the Scarlett Johanssons and the rest of the world.
And it's not just hurting them, but it will hurt small businesses. It will hurt the economy. It will hurt job creation, and it's totally disingenuous. Listen, he spun it greatly, but it was disingenuous.
All right. It's always great having you, Charles. Charles Payne. Great interviewer in his own right. Thanks. By the way, the president, meanwhile, heading to more swing states to push that tax plan. Tomorrow he's going to be in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, before traveling to Virginia. Later in the week, it'll be a